Welcome. This is Ralph Bivins. I'm with the Ralph Bivins Project podcast, and we're here today to talk about retail. We're talking about malls, shopping centers, things of that nature. And there's been a lot of shakeout in that arena, as you know, with COVID. Um, so much shopping was transferred to online, and restaurants. It's been a mess. It's been a mess. It's been a big shakeout, but it seems like things are. The sun's coming out now, so more people are feeling positive. We're seeing more activity, and but so we're here to. Hey, we're coming out of the pandemic. What's new with retail? What's new with shopping centers? And we're really lucky today, and we're fortunate to have Lilly Golden of Evergreen Commercial Realty, a Houston company which she founded in 2005. She's previously been with the Ed Wolf organization, Moody Rambin, Trammell Crow, JLL. She's been a leader in ICSC and Crew. She knows everybody, everything, every project. So we're lucky to have her today, and so welcome, Lilly.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on this podcast. I appreciate it. We all in the industry love your reporting and appreciate it very much.
Thank you. That's right. We believe in freedom of the press. So realtynewsreport.com is available to anybody with a computer. You can go on there anytime, get caught up with what deals are happening, what trends are happening, and this podcast will be posted there soon. So if you've gone there, that's why you're seeing us now. But I was started with a big question we could talk about for 3 hours, but we're just going to a quick summary about what the state of affairs. What's the state of affairs right now? Short version for the retail industry in America and in Houston.
Well, the state of affairs is I'm very thankful to be done writing rent deferral agreements, and that whole stage is over. We're doing new deals. I'm very thankful to be doing that. And with the $1.9 trillion coming out from the government and $1.9 trillion in annual savings that everyone has saved because there's been nothing to do and nowhere to spend their money, the brick and mortar retailers should be able to pay off all those rent deferrals and put the shopping center industry in great shape, certainly nationally by the beginning of 2022. And then in Houston, because we've been open and stayed open longer than the rest of the country, we've had already 2 positive quarters of absorption, and then we only lost 100 basis points in vacancy to be at 6.9% right now. So I think we're going to have positive absorption this year, and we should be in good shape even by the fourth quarter.
That would be fantastic. I've noticed, with the low mortgage rates and everything, this huge home selling boom, and on the piggybacking on that has been the work from home thing, and people, they're thinking, well, maybe I'm only have to, even if it does reopen all the way, I may only have to commute 3 days a week to come into town. So we can go ahead and go farther out from the inner city to farther suburbs. You're seeing developers buying land, building houses in more distant suburbs. And of course, the old adage, retail follows rooftops. That's going to come into play pretty soon. What's your take on the changing landscape in the outer suburbs?
Well, I've already seen that there's been announcements all the way from Willis to Manville, and I expect that to continue. We're going to have more development along the Grand Parkway, all around the outer loop from, Baytown. We're seeing it everywhere, Webster. So I expect that to continue. What's happening, it's mainly grocery anchored or adjacent to grocers. And you'd see more and more of it, except that most of it's already been in the works, or somebody's already owned the land, or you have to have a grocer in tow because construction costs are so high and leverage is low. So unless that changes, it's going to be very hard to get a lot of new construction announced. But as that changes with all this new home growth going on, you're going to see a great deal of more construction following those rooftops.
Willis is pretty amazing. That's way, you never thought That's back in the day that would, I guess, what's the Woodland Hills, 2,000 acres. A lot of
Right.
they're building and selling houses like crazy. I know Fidelis is up there doing things. So it's
Right, that new HEB. But that Kroger up there, everybody was surprised at how well that Kroger was doing way back when. But the sales proved it out that market was very strong, and that's been the impetus for so much new development right up there. So that's really brought on a lot of new development in that area.
What are these developers looking for? A few months ago, we had a guy, a land specialist, a land broker, as a guest on this podcast, and he's saying, "Man, there's a tremendous amount of the subdivision developers and builders that develop their own lots. They're really got things tuned up high, and there's a lot of it's really hot. So what do they look for when you're doing looking for a place to put a subdivision, to put retail near? How's this all work? What are the big selling points for people that are looking to make a move to the outer suburbs?
Well, for retailers, they're looking for their demographic, whether, if you're a high-end retailer, you've got to have a certain number of people with, a certain amount of their income level that they're looking for. Then you've got to have the traffic counts. So it's you've got to find whatever retailer it is, they've got to have the number of people with the income levels they're looking for, and then with the traffic counts, so that they're sure that they're going to have enough consumers of their type in that market so that they can locate there and make the numbers that they need, because they can't pay their rents unless they're making enough profits to be able to pay it.
Mm-hmm. And grocery anchored seems to be a high priority. Why is that?
Definitely. Because for the daily needs, grocery, you're thinking you're going to go there 3 times a week. And so people know that they're already going to be in that parking lot. And that's something that, it used to be, at least you used to go to the grocery store to buy your items, although more and more people now are doing click and collect, or they're just getting their groceries delivered. But the majority of the people, they think, are still going to go to the grocery store at least once or twice a week. And so that's what's bringing most of the people in. And there's a flight to quality and flight to safety, and the grocery anchors are thought that that's where they know that people are still going to make a trip to the grocery store at least once or twice a week.
What about big boxes, the places that sell appliances and TVs and things, and big, huge stores? Well, what's going on with that segment?
Target's still doing extremely well. People still want to go to Target. And then the discounters, the Ross, the Burlingtons, the TJs, people still enjoy that treasure hunt experience. And that's something that you don't really get online. And those deals are, the same or, better sometimes than what you can get online. So people are still traveling to those big discounters. And that's something that, you can't get that online. So everything that's internet resistant is what's still going to be in the big box developments.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And of course, lot's been written, and a lot has happened in the regional mall sector. We had things like CBL, which they have 100 malls or something, maybe 150, a bunch.
Right.
So Stephen Leibovitz was the chairman of ICSC, and he would come and talk to my real estate editors group and say, hey, the retail Armageddon's not, this is 5-6 years. Retail Armageddon is not going to happen. We're going to be able to survive it. And things didn't work out. It's just amazing that they took a chapter to finding other uses. And of course, you had that big one, that the only project that CBL had, you were managing there in Pearland, the Pearland Town Center.
Right.
It's a big mall. It's a big mall. What about what's going to happen with the regional malls? What's next in that sector?
Well, the A quality malls are still doing okay. The Galleria is not going to go anywhere anytime soon, but they are feeling pressure. You can tell that the high end is starting to have some leakage. As you can see from Legacy West, they just announced that they're going to be adding Gucci, Tory Burch, and Chanel Beauty. So there are a lot of those types of retailers would definitely be in the malls otherwise, and now they're going to Legacy West. So you can tell there is some pressure that they're losing some of their traditional tenants. And then the B and C malls, they're having to reinvent themselves either by turning inside out, adding new uses. And then for C quality malls, as you can tell by Greenspoint, they're just getting torn down and, putting in new uses like there in Greenspoint. They're just becoming a brand new industrial project. Mm-hmm. So it's really on a case by case basis as to what's going to happen with each different project.
Yes, I've heard, ULI last year, they were talking about this. Let's tear down a section of this. We're going to build apartments or seniors housing. It's pretty amazing that the malls that we thought, hey, you've got Penny's, Sears, J.C. Penney's, and you're set. That was when that era is over.
Right. Well, the good thing is they're all on good pieces of property. Most of them, it's great real estate. So that's the benefit. So that's, of all of this is that it is good real estate and you can put other uses on those properties.
Speaking of, the some of the new things that are popping up now, what you see in new concepts, new kinds of new brands, new stores, new restaurants, whatever new growth coming up that we haven't seen before.
So, this is not the best time to be bringing out a new concept right now. So what we're seeing mainly is tried and true brands coming up with new prototypes. So Starbucks is now having a walk-up window. Walgreens is coming up with a 2,500 square foot prototype. You're seeing, Dollar General did come out with Pop Shelf, which is, directed at suburban women that are looking for things that are under $5. But, Restaurant Depot is now going out into the suburbs and selling to the general public instead of just business to business. So I think, we're seeing new prototypes from our tried and traditional brands. But I think as this pandemic is over, we will see new concepts come out, but it's not a great time this year to bring out something new, but I think that will happen, but it's probably going to be 2022 before we see some big announcements.
Now, have you heard of the Costco thing that they're building?
Yes. Yeah.
A business-oriented Costco out in Stafford. What can you tell us about that?
Just it's 154,000 square feet. It's going at the grid and it is business oriented. And that's again, I should have brought that up, but that's an example of, a tried and true retailer coming up with a different concept or just a slightly different prototype. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody's been working on their operation and figuring out what works and, what's going to work in this new type of environment that we're in. No. I mean, Target's got a brand new look to it. They've changed everybody's changing their size and how their operation's going to work. I mean, look at Sam's. They've, a lot of their boxes are now fulfillment centers. So I think everybody's just changing to this new environment.
Mm-hmm. It has changed. It has changed. But the big, some of these centers that are more like a town center that seem to be pretty popular. If the open air, the old school air conditioned enclosed mall just doesn't seem to be the thing. But you've seen some of the newer centers that have open air, and it's more walkable. It feels like more of a place, and a little bit, I guess they call it buzzword experiential.
Right.
That can be there.
They're going to have, I think the new thing is to have more open air and to make the green space be more of an anchor so that, if you look at City Center, it had that big green space. Market Street had a big green space, and that acted as an anchor. The highest rents are around the green space. So I think that's going to be a new trend if you want to look for new trends that are happening in shopping centers.
Anchored by green space. Isn't that great? That sounds.
It is. It's very interesting when you think about it. Open area is your new anchor, but I think that's what's happening.
I was there, City Center, for early Sunday when it opened, and kids playing on the
Right.
grass and everything. It was just really nice. And what about La Centera out in Cinco on Grand Parkway? I know you're taking over management of that. Tell us what's happening out there.
So it's been a joy working with Pogue Shopping Centers, and we're helping them let high-end retailers know that the Katy demographics are very similar to those in the Galleria, Memorial, and the Woodlands. But what's different about Katy is there's no other high-end mixed-use center or high-end regional malls. So if you're a high-end retailer and you want to serve the Katy customer, there's only really one place to locate, and that's La Centera. So we want to get that message out, and we've only been on the project for 2 months, but having gotten that message, just those that are interested, we've had very good response. And so we're looking forward to culminating some of the deals that we've started. And through that, we're looking forward to sending you lots of great announcements in the very near future, because we've had such positive responses from people. So we're back in business and deals are going to be made. And we think La Centera has a very positive future.
I think they got a popular new restaurant, Dish Society, recently.
Right. We doubled in size with Dish Society. Kendra Scott went from a pop-up. They've signed a brand new full lease just based on the great sales that they've experienced. And we've got some Ambrizas opening up this spring. And we've got a lot of other new good things coming.
La Centera, south of Interstate 10 on the Grand Parkway, near Cinco Ranch, very accessible because of the roads there. And I know that some of you have read my book, Houston 2020. I got a big interview in a chapter almost about what Woody Mann, the original developer of La Centera, did there. It was so fantastic. And he was early on when Cinco Ranch was in its early stages. He was in a battle with Simon, the big mall people that had control of the intersection at Interstate 10. Woody Mann of Vista, who's very experienced and high quality developer, he was in a battle with trying to get the anchors tied down to build this, and Woody won and Simon didn't. So La Centera was there, and it's come along. I know Marty Fine had a multifamily project there that's done well. So it's really coming along.
Yeah, we're getting 3 more exits off of Grand Parkway, actually. They're going to start that work by the end of this year. So we're going to have even better access for the property here very shortly. So it's just getting better and better every day. We're very fortunate.
Cool. Well, it's a good center. It's a good center. I think you're on the right path. Other idea that I've wondered. One of the things that, of course, took it on the chin, unfortunately, with movie theaters and everything. Just people wouldn't go, and just wasn't safe to go. How's that unfolding now as we're coming back to life? What about movie theaters?
Well, we've been told there's 2 years of blockbuster movies just waiting on a shelf to be shown. So, and movie theaters make the majority of their profits off of the concessions, and they've just been holding off opening up until they know that they've got enough consumer traffic that's going to feel comfortable coming in to justify the fixed costs of opening. So we're just taking a wait and see approach to see when they open, how well they do. And then, if they're, back to, doing well, then great, we're going to keep them all open. And if they don't seem to be thriving, then we'll, figure out what's next. So we're anxious to see what happens and looking forward to watching all these new blockbuster movies.
Yeah. And I think the thing that the new competition that popped up, the streaming, being able to stream your own movies at home, and that's um, the whole thing has been just revolutionized because of what happened with the pandemic. But I think a lot of people still want to go to the movies. A kid wants to go on a date, go there, get popcorn, and it was always a place to go, something to do. And
I think people want to get out. They want to go do something and not be in the four walls of their house anymore. And a movie's a fun thing to do. So I'm hopeful that it'll still work.
what about downtown Houston? I know what's going on there.
Well, if you don't have people, it's hard for a retailer or restaurant to make it. And so it's really going to depend on if the workers come back to the offices. So we've got to have that happen for downtown Houston to thrive again. So, that's just out of their control, which is really sad. So we've just got to see the, office market thrive down there again for those retailers to be able to thrive. So, even though they still have a strong population base down there, it's just not enough. You really need the office workers to come back. So again, it's a wait and see situation.
Yeah, it was bad timing for them. Bad timing. I know just to the east of downtown, the East River. Barely the east. You can. I think their promotional material says only 5,000 feet from the edge of downtown, so less than a mile, and they got a big piece of bio frontage. What have you heard about East River and what that deal?
So they're trying to work with the community and have a mix of tenants that are working with the community, and then with make it a lot of restaurants and things that are going to work with the office space that they have there. But until they get some office tenants and some more really on the property, it's going to be tough for them to get a lot of retail going there as well. So I think it's going to be a long-term project.
Another new thing that's happened in recent days is, this Godfather company, Weingarten Realty, have been based here since, I guess they started from the Weingarten grocery chain that was here years ago, and they were REIT. They had 150 shopping centers around the nation, and a bunch of them here in the greater Houston area. And PIMCO, another big publicly traded real estate company, is involved in grocery anchored shopping centers. Their specialty. It says they're buying Weingarten for $4 billion or something. It's a huge deal.
Huge number.
What have you been able to? It's real new, but what have you figured out any impact in terms of what this means for Houston to have a big player like Weingarten's being taken over or being sold?
Well, I think what it means for the industry, Kimco just paid a 10% premium for Weingarten. So I think what it really means is that Kimco has a lot of confidence in the fact that they can raise rents and occupy grocery anchored centers here in Houston and the other sunshine states that Weingarten is in. So I think it's a huge boost to confidence in the shopping center industry, and it should, pave the way for other mergers and acquisitions, and lenders and shareholders and everybody feel very confident that the industry is in good shape and that it should just get better and better. So it should just make people feel very bullish. So I don't have any insight in exactly what happened there, but I think it's just a great sign for the industry in general.
One thing, yeah, they're a big player, and they're buying Weingartens because they like what they do. So I don't think wine garden is going to go away. One thing I did note in my newsletter about the wine garden owns its own office project, own office building there along North
Right.
6th.
610.
And of course it's surrounded by a bunch of grass. It's kind of old school development where you have plenty of room to grow St. Augustine, and I think it's 5 acres or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I was thinking, well, maybe PIMCO would want to sell that. Maybe PIMCO would say, hey, we want to be pure, so we would get. They may need a regional office, but so then as I went through all this, scratching my head and thinking, well, what about 62 North? If have the Brook Hollow office complex there, you've got some retail there, but that's not that far from downtown. It's not that far from the Galleria Memorial area. Heights and everything keeps pushing farther north, and you're thinking, why hasn't North 610 been more than it is? It's been out there for 40, 50 years. We've been waiting on it since the 70s for things to happen. But
it will transform. I mean, there's no doubt that area. I mean, if you look at Garden Oaks, and that area has just quickly transformed. So I think that area is next. I mean, I think it's coming. It's just taken some time, but I think that will transform just like the rest of the areas around it. I mean, everybody thought that, it wouldn't jump, housing values wouldn't jump 610, but they have. So it's just a matter of time.
What about the Heights, Lily? There's a lot of activity in there, unique retail stuff. What's your take on the Heights area in terms of shopping centers and things?
Well, it's funny. The Heights, when you show it, when you drive it with people that don't understand it, they think it looks terrible, but it's just getting better and better. And I think HEB moving in there on 24th and Shepherd really, made that area or solidified that area as a new retail node. And that really helped and made national credit tenants feel more comfortable, because I think it's really been kind of an area for locals that felt comfortable there. But I think with HEB going there, it's going to make nationals feel more comfortable going there as well. So I think now it's really going to start to explode. And I think you're going to see more and more, and the restaurant numbers are incredible. Alcohol sales volumes are, sky high. So I think that's really going to help the area, and we're going to see more and more transformation, just like we saw along Washington, which took a while also. Mm-hmm. So I think, that's going to come along, and it's just going to be a progression. We're going to see the Heights get better, and then we're going to see Loop 610 follow.
That sounds reasonable. I would be willing to make a bet on that.
Yeah. You want to buy some property?
Also, the other intersection that's been really hot, Westheimer at Montrose. You got the Montrose Collective with Dome Capital, and then you've got Skanska taking that hard corner on the, I guess, southwest corner of Montrose and Westheimer,
right,
for what looks to be a pretty major project. Talk to me a little bit about Montrose.
Well, Montrose has been hot for quite some time. I think what happened in Montrose, a lot of restaurateurs went in there, and the rents got so high that, they just were paying all their money to the landlord. And so then some people started to close, and that allowed for some changeover. And so there is some empty space there now, but I think that with, restaurant sales are back. Open Table said that, we had a big spike in March, so that there's, March sales were equal to March of 2019. Open Table said their reservations were just down 20% from where they were a year ago. So I think, restaurant sales are back, and people are really appreciating the fact that they can go out and share some time with friends again. So I think Montrose is going to be back right where it was before, and I think the rent numbers are going to come back. So I'm very bullish on Montrose. I think it's going to be right back where it was in the past.
I've also been thinking about Meyerland Plaza, which is owned by Fidelis, and they've had some no Pier 1. The Pier 1's closed. The Steinmart's closed. The Bed Bath and Beyond there is closed. They do have a new multi-story HEB, which grocery, which major good thing. But what's your take on Meyerland right now?
Well, they had 11 vacancies happen at once, which obviously is a big blow. But I think, again, that's a great market. It's going to come back. I think it just, all those big boxes leaving at once, it's going to take time for that amount of space to be absorbed. But it will be absorbed, and it'll be absorbed by, great users. So they've got a great team at Fidelis, and I'm sure they're going to put in, especially HEB really helps them get the right type of tenants in there.
That was great. And they also lost their Palais Royal, which pretty big local chain. It was throughout the Southwest of apparel and stuff, and that went down. Which Stage Stores was the parent company, and they left vacancy in a lot of places, and that's
right. But that was a national issue. It's not Meyerland specific. So certainly understandable that they went out there. I mean, a lot of the stores that went out in Meyerland went out everywhere. So it's nothing to do with Meyerland. It's more to do with the general circumstances of those retailers.
Anything else? What are we overlooking, Lily? What should have asked you?
I think you did it, as always. I think you did a great job of covering it, and I just want to tell you how much we appreciate everything you do for the industry to keep us up to date. You do a great job, and thank you very much for including me on this podcast.
Well, Lilly Golden, president of Evergreen Commercial Realty, we thank you for taking time to talk with us and share your expertise, and we'll look forward to having you back someday soon.
All right. Thanks very much. Have a great day.